I wanted to start with your postal service family legacy. I know you said that your mom had worked for the post office and you worked for the post office. And I'd like for you to talk about that a little bit and how good the postal service has been to you.
All right, well, so what happened was I came out here to go to school. It was people always go, why did you go to Oklahoma? Well, the Cosby Show was very popular. And then Lisa Bonet went off and had her own show, A Different World. That was my senior year of high school. So they lived in the dorms, and they looked like they had a lot of fun. And my mom, I had filled out my SAT, and you could send your scores off to 3 schools. So I sent it off to Northridge, where I assumed I was going to go to school. And then I had to send it off to 2 other schools. Well, my girlfriend Nina said, let's send the other 2 off to schools that are affiliated with our church. Oklahoma Christian, and then the other one was Abilene Christian in Texas. So Oklahoma Christian sends us this pamphlet about living in the dorms. And my mom goes, well, this looks like a lot of fun. You'd be like living just like on that TV show. Well, my mom was also pregnant and was trying to get rid of me. Because I was the oldest, at the time, and they needed a bedroom. So, but anyhow, she honestly, I think my mom would have thought it would have been fun to live in the dorms. It's not something that she did. And I think that she thought it would be a lot of fun, and she's like, this school's a small school, it's affiliated with where you go to church, and although my parents were atheists, I went to church, and I was real churchy, so they said, this is perfect for you. So I come out here, had one of the best years of my life. I go home, and my mom goes, I got you a job. I said, but it's summer break. And she said, there's no summer break, you're 18. I got you a job, you start Monday. You're now working at the post office. I never filled out an application.
Oh my gosh.
I got a job, I filled out no application. She said, I took care of all of it. You're starting Monday. So I went to work with my mom at the post office. And my mom did threaten me and say I better not embarrass her. She did mention that there was somebody one time who had their kid worked there and came in there drunk and cussed out the supervisor, and I had better not do that. And she did threaten. I had better not embarrass her. I better work harder than anybody else. And I got paid $4 an hour. Wow. Not very much money, but at the time I was happy. I thought it was great. Little did I know. But I did like it. So when I ended up staying home for a year because I got real homesick the first year. And when I came out here, no family, had a great year, but I was also homesick. So I stayed home for a year. Then I came back out here and I needed money. I was running out of money. So I applied for the post office. This time I applied to the post office. And I applied downtown, and they took me, came in as a Christmas casual in December 1990. Wow. Worked for George Santos, and this man, children, wore very colorful suits. A little bit like Grandpa might wear sometimes. And I liked the post office. It suited me. I didn't have to deal with the public. I managed to make some friends. I remember the first time I went there, not remembering how to get out of the building because the building was humongous. It was the first time I had been around as many black people in my life because I grew up in an all-white town. Home of the Rodney King trial. Okay. So it was an all-white town, although my best friend was black. Go figure. But so that took a little adjusting. but it was okay. So I learned about more people and became more a little culturally aware. Because I think that growing up, my parents weren't racist, but they didn't promote like cultural awareness. So it's just like people are people. Well, okay, but we didn't even know like what racial slurs were, or that these things existed. We didn't know that really racism existed in that form, other than grandma didn't like white people, and grandpa really didn't like white people. In fact, he didn't even talk with us. And I mean, I spent 2 months in the summer at my grandma and grandpa's house, and I thought he only spoke Spanish. So I thought the reason he didn't speak to us is because he only spoke Spanish. And my mom said, no, that man speaks English. And my brother, Mario, also said later on he never remembered him ever speaking to us because we were half white. So that was the racism that we grew up with, and not against blacks. So it was kind of different. And actually, when I got with my husband, I'm going to go off topic because I always do. My grandma was very happy that I had married a black man. I think because he wasn't white. Quite frankly. And she always said, this is the way the Spanish do things. This is the way the Spanish do things. I'm going to teach you, this is the way we do things, because this is not the way you do it in your home with your mother. And my mother had tried many times to get along with my grandma, my dad's mother, and writing letters to her in Spanish and everything. She said it never worked. They did not have a good relationship. But I think she tried in the beginning. But anyhow, I worked with my mom. I liked the post office. They hired me as a 6-month casual. Then you could renew because it was calendar year. So then I came back, did 13 months. Then they let me go. I had to go work at Ross. And I realized I hate people. I don't like having to smile at people. And how may I help you? And then they'd say, well, what do you guys think about, people want to ask me my opinion about style? I said, I don't have a sense of style. I don't know what's in the style. I don't know what your grandkid would like. I hated these questions. I hated it. I was dying to get back to the post office and just be able to throw my letters, listen to my music, and I just tried to throw real fast because I wanted to be as fast as the fastest person I thought was there as I worked, where you cased letters to the individual states for the kids. And then they said, we are hiring for a TE job. They pull me into a room and they give us all a number. I'm number 10. We're hiring 5 people. We're going to give you all a test. So I'm going, so 5 people need to flunk, so I get a job. I'm looking around the room going, I hope you flunk. You flunk, and I hope you flunk. Because I'm going to now go from $5 an hour to $8 an hour. I said, I want this job. I didn't know how to work the 10 key. I got me a big calculator and I started practicing at home. I'm going to learn this 10 key. I want this $3 an hour raise. 5 people flunked, I got the job. I couldn't believe it. Did that job for about a year. And then they come down and said, we're hiring $10 an hour as TE on the flat source scheme. Richard had taken up everybody's names. I had been on vacation, so he didn't get my name. I said, what happened when I was gone? My day off? What? Oh, I want that too. So I got with Alan Middleman, and I said, I want you to submit my name. Turns out Richard didn't submit anybody's name. So I submitted my name. Then I said, because they went and snuck it in, because you had to turn it in by Friday, so Saturday, they went and snuck mine in, because they ain't gonna look at it till Monday. And then I told Betty, my friend Betty, who I'm still friends with, Betty, and the kids know Betty, I said, hey Betty, we're gonna get a raise if we get this job. You want to submit your name? So I submitted her name, and then I told Everett, and he went by Randy at the time, but I called him Everett because that was his real name. I thought it was better than Randy. And so I didn't care. I was still going to call him Everett. And I said, get a raise. And it's by seniority, and we at the bottom. So us three got that job. Jolinda, pissed. Pissed. And I can't remember Tamara Blair, pissed. She didn't get it either. I jumped ahead of everybody because Richard forgot to submit their names. He left their names in the drawer, so I got that job. And I got a raise.
Yeah.
And I went to Tier 1 graveyard shift. Did that for 2 years. And then they offered those tests for TEs to get on career, because the whole time they ain't offering no test to get on permanent. So I studied. I studied and I studied. And the post office gave me a book to study. Gave me a book, said, you're a good worker. And gave me a book to study. I studied. I got a 99 on that test.
Woo, good
Then
girl.
I went and took TE1 and got 100. And this is when we had to go take a test in Shawnee. We had to go out to Lawton, take a test. I took one here. I probably took one out in El Reno. I took like 8 of these tests. I went everywhere to take this test. I said, I want to get on and get paid. I think it was $12, $13 an hour. So every time it was like a $2 more. And I said, that's a lot of money. So I took that test and I interviewed for a job in Norman. And the guy goes, Lovato? When I got hired on for the post office, my supervisor's name was Marilyn Lovato. I said, that's my mother. Are you kidding me? Your first supervisor was my mother and you're in Oklahoma? And my mom's in California. He's like, well, I'll hire you. Well, then I come find out he didn't hire me. I said, so I called him. I said, what happened? He said, well, I had to hire the last of the military veterans, and one girl had 100, so I had to take her over your 99. I said,
Wow.
oh, so whoa, I have 100, because I took the TE test and they're supposed to get rid of the 99. So I talked to the union. This is why I'm a union member. I went and talked to the union, and I said, they didn't change my score, so I didn't get that job in Norman. So they went and said, the next job is yours. And it was in Edmond. Now I lived in the village, which is real close to where our house was on Northwest 90 kids. So Edmond, a heck of a lot closer than Norman. So I get there, they offer me a carrier job, and I walk in and the lady goes, well, that's funny. They told me I was only going to get 2 workers. There's 3 of y'all here. And I'm thinking, that's because the union got me this job. I know I'm extra. And thank God, because I only had to work part-time. I hated that job. I hated carrying mail. It is hot outside. It is hot outside. It is hot. I could not handle the heat. I would sweat my behind off like you wouldn't believe. And I did that from March to September. But when I finished my 90 days, my 91st day, I was in Atlanta putting in for a transfer. I had gotten married, and then I got on for the post office. And my husband said, I want to move to Georgia. And I said, well, I'll be a good wife. I'm going to support you. You want to go to Georgia? Okay, go to Georgia. I'll transfer. And he said, well, if you can't get a transfer, then I'll come back. So he goes with me to personnel. I get there. This facility is 3 times larger than the Oklahoma City facility. Humongous building. I walk in there with my husband. This place is 99% black. Now, fortunately, I had gotten used to blacks downtown and didn't go straight from my all-white town. I mean, because it's a little bit of a culture shock.
So funny.
I get there, everybody high-fiving my husband like he working there. Hey, sir, man, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing good. Everybody ignoring me. They don't know who I am. And I'm thinking, why everybody talking to me? You don't work here, I'm working here. I am not kidding. They gave us a tour of the facility and everything, and they said, well, we are only hiring for scheme qualified flat sorter clerks. I said, I did that for 2 years. Oh, they said, okay, fine, we'll take you. We won't make you wait the year, we'll take you right now. So it took 2 months to process my paperwork, and I was out there in Georgia. And it was great. This office was filled with young, 20-year-old people. And I loved it because when I carried mail, they were white, male, and over 40. And I was 23.
Yeah. You were out working them,
I
I
did not
bet.
fit in there either. So then I go to the all-black office, but no problems. Everybody was super friendly. I got more used to being in a different kind of culture, more accommodated. The post office was great. Glenn and I had a lot of issues as a couple in town with people in the 90s saying rude things to us. Just walked up to us and said, you got a lot of nerve walking up in here. I'm like, it's a grocery store. We just bought some milk. I don't understand. I didn't steal him away from you. He ain't that great. And he don't even make any money, so, I mean, y'all be glad I took him. Oh, sorry, children. He's a great guy.
So funny.
Good guy. Because they all know, I married your daddy because he was fine. That's what I said to my mom. I said, but Mom, he's so good looking. And she just rolled her eyes at me like, oh my God, my daughter has always been a sensible daughter, has lost her mind. He's so good looking, Mom. How long have you known him? Long enough, because I didn't want to tell him that I didn't know him very long. I was getting married. So I knew him 5 months by the time we were married.
Wow.
We were engaged after a week.
Because he was what?
And my parents would have freaked if they had known. You've only known him how long? They knew I didn't know him very long because they knew I'd been dating somebody else at Christmas. So when I come and call them 4th of July and ish time and tell them, by the way, I'm getting married, they're thinking, you couldn't have known this guy more than 6 months. They didn't know it was more like 2. So I never would tell them how long it was actually I knew him. I felt like I was old enough to make my own decisions, and I didn't want to hear it.
I remember being home when Mom and Dad found out that you were getting married, and there was a bunch of us in the room, and my sisters were like, she's got a boyfriend? Like, what?
I didn't start dating until I was 23 years old. I was 23 when I met my husband. I had managed to get quite a bit of experience in a short period of time.
Okay.
And I slowed down fast. And I was happy. I had a nice little marriage. Shannon answered the phone the first time, and I told her I was getting married. First question, are you pregnant? I said, no.
Ready.
You ready? Okay. Nicole, the next thing we want to move to are your favorite things. What are your favorite things?
My favorite things, the color red.
Okay.
I love red. I love silver.
Mm-hmm.
Silver jewelry. I don't like gold. I like silver. I like to read. Love
What's your
romance
favorite?
novels.
Romance novels?
I call them fluff novels because they require no brain work.
You call them
And
fluff novels?
I call them fluff novels.
Okay.
And in the end, they get married and live happily ever after. Because that's the way it's supposed to be.
Excellent.
It's not supposed to end in divorce.
Amen.
Yeah, what's your favorite food?
I like cheese and lettuce. It's very simple. And very simple. I like just regular foods. Nothing fancy. As the kids know, just cheese and lettuce.
Okay. What's your favorite hobby?
Well, actually, before I was married, I used to cross stitch. So I have 2 pictures in my study. I cross stitched them.
I took pictures of those. I did not know that.
Cross-stitched a little thing that says I love Glenn before. And one of the interesting things that I did, because I'm nerdy, is before I got married, I wrote 2 poems to my husband.
Before you got married?
Yeah, as a little gift to give when we got married. That's very nerdy. But I wrote little poems. I need to find them. I kept them for many years, and I'm not sure where I have them anymore. But I was into that before. Nowadays, really, my hobbies really are more just being with my kids and just trying to take them places. They know I like doing, before I got sick, doing extra schoolwork with them. I did a lot of extra schoolwork. It wasn't required for the school. We just did it for fun.
Okay.
The kids would sometimes say, we don't think it's fun. But when we memorized, Zeros was having to learn the countries in Europe. Araceli had to learn it as well. And then we would get to countries like Denmark. Oh, who do we know who's been there? Oh, your aunt. She used to live there. Oh, Austria. Hey, who do we know used to live there and used to play ball? Oh, Aunt Mercedes. You know, Italy, Spain. Oh, Kelly played there, softball. We tended to the kids would get a kick out of going, oh, Aunt so-and-so, they've been there. Now, Aunt Mercedes has been all over, and Aunt Kelly's been all over. We could pretty much just say every country in Europe they've been to. But when we first started, it was less places.
Your favorite perfume?
I don't wear perfume. I don't like to wear perfume. Which is funny, but I like a man to wear a nice cologne. Although my dad always wore cologne. My mother used to say it was a bit much. And he used to keep it in the car too. I don't know if
Do you remember the cologne?
I don't. I'm sure it was so cheap.
Your favorite vacation?
But I like going on cruises. I really like going on cruises. I've been on 4, 3 with the kids, 1 without. And I wish I could go on one more like you guys went on, because that seemed like a lot of fun to go on an adult-only one. And that would have been cool. But I really enjoy going with the kids. And I like going on cruises because it's something where I can relax. And I feel very safe. I feel like it's low risk. And I am very risk averse. And I'm afraid of getting hurt. And I'm afraid of foreigners possibly robbing me or something. Although I'm sure this one would tell me it's actually very safe. Mercedes has traveled extensively, but that makes me very nervous. But I forgot what the question was.
Okay. Well, you've answered it, so we'll just move on. We wanted you to speak on milestones in your life. and kind of related to what you would like for your children to do. We're going to start with age 16. That's a milestone for anybody. Maybe 16.
Well, I'm going to say my 2 big milestones at 16, and I'll think of milestones or things that kind of change your life.
Mhm.
So, in PE, which I was flunking, I had like A's in all my classes except for PE. I was flunking. Something about having an attitude. I had worn some cleats that were my brother's and they were a little too small. Got a blister in my heels, and my PE coach wanted me to walk out onto the field as he explained something, and the grass was wet and I wouldn't do it. So I'm flunking PE. Hell attitude. So they had where you had to run a mile at lunch. Well, I was in soccer, played soccer, so I won my recess period mile. I hadn't intended to win, I just did. And so they called it, and Shannon remembers this, the Dream Mile, and they gave you a t-shirt if you won. So they made all the different recesses, you know, periods that groups that they had race each other. So as everybody takes off super fast, I didn't take off fast. I didn't go fast to that last lap, and I won. So I got a t-shirt. Next thing you know, I'm in track. They said, you need to be on the track team, Miss Flunking a PE. So I had never dreamed of being in track. Track and cross country were wonderful. I was a shy girl who had 1 to 2 friends. Suddenly, the most popular kid in school were cheering me on in my events.
Wow.
I really think that sports are wonderful for that, because I felt like I was a part of something. And if I hadn't won that race at lunch, I never would have been in track. And track and cross country allowed me to have people cheer for me. And that was something I wasn't used to. The first time my mom saw me run an 880, and it was under the lights at Simi High, she thought, there's no way, Nicole's never gonna make it. Now I'm the oldest, so they had never seen sports, high-level sports. Thank God I was the oldest child, because the younger ones were phenomenal athletes. So my mom was just unbelievably impressed that I actually ran the whole 2 laps. And because she didn't think I'd make it. But I made it. I didn't win. It didn't matter. To my mom, I won because I didn't stop. She couldn't believe it. And it was exciting. It was under the lights. Everybody's cheering for you. And I loved it. And I loved that people that were popular would come up to me and say, congratulations, you know, even if you didn't win. And then I did cross country. 8 people were on the team. Now, some of the other schools, they had 50 people on the team or whatever, and they had to cut people, you know. But we only had 8 girls, so guess what? I was varsity. There was only 8 girls, so I got a Letterman jacket, which I still have and could actually put on right now because it lost so much weight. But I actually still have that Letterman jacket. I was so proud to get the Letterman jacket. So that was a big thing. The other big thing when I was around 16 was my girlfriend Melissa, who was a little sexually promiscuous verbally. I didn't understand what the heck she was talking about, honestly. But I would pretend, try to pretend like I was cool and knew what she was talking about. I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. Honestly, I didn't have a clue. But she invited me with her church on a snow skiing trip. So I thought, well, I've never been snow skiing. Okay, I'll go with you. She's like, well, I don't really associate with the other kids at church. So this way you can come with me, I can bring guests. So I go, I had a great time. I enjoyed singing. I have a terrible voice, but their church believes everybody sings. And everybody who raises their voice is a joyful noise to the Lord. So I go and we sing and have devotionals at night, and we went and we stayed in a cabin overnight, and we went skiing. The second time I went down the slope, I scared the bejesus out of myself because I didn't think I paid attention enough on how we're supposed to stop. And I went way too fast and didn't fall fast enough because I really should have fallen earlier and got pretty far down the hill. I didn't go back. Scared the daylights out of myself. Honestly, scared the daylights out of myself. But Ken Kirby, who ended up dating my sister later on, came up to me and said, "So are you going to start going to church with us now?" And I had not even, honestly, never even thought about it. And I go, "You know what? I think I will. I think I will." Nina, who becomes my best friend now, went to that church.
Wow.
And it was almost all guys. And so her parents said, "Here's a girl that's coming. Make friends with her." So she was told by her parents, and the thing is, we're best friends to this day. All because this other friend, who stopped going to church, invited me on a ski trip, and Ken said, "Hey, so you gonna start coming to church with us now?" And I did start going to church. And then at spring break, I went on a mission trip with the church in Mexico to build home for the homeless, which means I spent a week making cinder blocks for the next church group that would come. So we would build cinder block houses. Everyone had a certain type of job, but my job that I ended up with was building cinder blocks. Cement, mixing it with sand and water, then you put it into the mold, then you flip the mold, and be very careful so that it doesn't crumble, or you gotta take it back. And it was hard work, but I enjoyed that I was doing something to help somebody else. And I did that with the church, and I went 2 years and did that. And I also forced my sisters to come with me. Because my kind of sister, not this one, but some of the older ones,
Okay.
actually came with me. They didn't get into going to church, but because I went on that ski trip, made friends with Nina, went on the mission trips, when I filled out that SAT, I listed Oklahoma Christian. I ended up coming to Oklahoma. If I hadn't gone on that ski trip, I never would have ended up in Oklahoma.
Wow.
And who knows where I would have been in life. Probably carrying mail in Van Nuys, California.
Wow. Okay. No 16, 18, 18 to 21.
18, I would just say that was my freshman year of college, coming to Oklahoma, which I honestly had to look on a map to see which state was Oklahoma, because I wasn't quite sure at first. So I come out here to go to school, no family, live in the dorms, and because it was a Christian college, we had a curfew. They locked the doors. You can't leave. 11 o'clock, I think the weekends was 12:30. So shy little Nicole, who didn't really have a lot of friends, made a lot of friends because she stayed up late. And all the other kids that stayed up late, we would come and meet in the common room there where the TV was, and we would be friends. And other than that, it was pretty uneventful. I mean, I just made a lot of friends, and I said I made more friends that freshman year than I ever had, probably until these last couple of years of my life. Because I don't really think of myself as having a lot of friends. And then my sister Shannon's like, "Are you kidding?" I said, "All these people that are talking to you on Facebook about how much they love you and miss you and just going to work," and I'm realizing I have more friends than I really think that I have. Because I don't think that I have a lot of friends. But then you three are here, and consider you guys my friends. And then when I was at work and people are honestly sad about my condition and, are praying for me and hoping for good things for me and are genuine, and I'm like, that really was a lot of people, but I hadn't realized it. But my freshman year, I really made a lot of friends and really felt like I wasn't the shy little wallflower that I was. I didn't date. All my girlfriends dated. I did get into a little trouble my freshman year. Do we have to talk about that?
Not unless you want your children to know.
I did break the rules. And you know what? It's all Wanda's fault. Because I had one black friend, Wanda. So we all decide we're going to go out to the club. It was called Quicksilver.
Oh my
I don't know if it was a club back in the day. But it was 18 and up. You
Yes.
18 and up. So we go, and Wanda's like, all the black girls, we're all going to go. And we're going to sign out that we're staying at so-and-so's house. Because we had to be locked into the dorms. So our plan is we're going to do this. I'm not real sure what our plan was. We're going to sleep.
I never think that far ahead.
Unclear on what we were going to do there. But we were all going to go out to the club. I mean, we weren't going to drink. We were just going to go dancing. Dancing was against the rules at my private school. Because dancing leads to lasciviousness, which leads to sex. So therefore, dancing leads to sex. Well, all I know is my father was a dancer. And my dad and mom had 8 kids. You guys think? Just saying. But we go out, had a great time. And I did. I went out there on the dance floor and I danced and all. And I didn't even know most of these girls. But I knew Wanda. Then they decided, let's sneak back into the dorms. We're going to sneak back in. Because whatever plan we had, we ain't going to do. I'm not sure we even have a plan. So we go knocking on this girl's door. This is the girl who I decided to let shave my head my freshman year and just leave a little bit of top layer hair. She shaved the whole back of my head. I'm not really sure why I let her do that my freshman year. You do some good stuff in your freshman year. I shaved the back of my head. That's what happens when you get away from mom and dad. So we knock, we get in. I make it safely to my room because they've already gone around and done a head count. One of the girls didn't make it. She got caught. Now this is a Christian's college and these are all nice girls. So she starts confessing. So-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so. I do not want this sin on my soul. She forgot about me. Forgot about the white girl. I was in the clear. Too, they started talking to some of the other girls, and they pulled more of the other girls, and they're all like, well, what about Nicole? Now I'm in trouble. Now I had signed up to go to Vienna and spend a semester in Vienna my sophomore year. Guess who didn't get to go to Vienna?
Oh, wow.
Because I was a troublemaker and could not be trusted. And the thing is, I was like the least troublemaking kid there was. I did this one thing, and my roommate, Shauna, basically told me to go because she was studying for an exam and just wanted me out of there and stop talking to her. So it was also her fault too. So it was Wanda's fault and Shauna's fault. But I had gone to the deans to not call my parents and tell them I went dancing. Because the one thing that my parents said, and this is true, you know you can't go dancing at this school because my parents were dancers, Latin and ballroom dancers. I didn't dance, but they said you can't go dancing at this college. And I thought, well, this isn't going to be an issue. I don't dance. I said, please don't call my parents. They're atheists, and you know, they were just like really against this whole dancing idea, and I think that it would ruin their feeling towards me and Christianity and whatnot. And so they did not. I was the only one whose parents was not notified. But I had to come up with some kind of lie to tell them why I couldn't go to Vienna all of a sudden. And I don't remember what I told them. I think I was homesick. That's what I told them.
Wow. Okay, let's go to 25.
25. So 25. I'm not sure if it was 25 or 26. 25. So 25 is the year I got a career for the post office. March 95. So I've been 24 to turn 25. September 95, I was 25. I was in Georgia. So full cultural effect, and learned a little bit more about racism, because now I'm in the South. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Mecca, as my husband used to call it. So I became exposed to some things that I had never been exposed to. In the South, I mean, I thought Oklahoma was very different than California. Very different, the South. And I did go to some all-black churches. Actually, I met my husband here. But so we sometimes went to all-black churches, and then sometimes we went to white churches. They're different. They're a little different. But it was good, and that I became kind of more aware of a lot of things. I'm growing as a person as well. But I think that's the year that I became the legal guardian of my sister, Gina. She was 14 and turned 15. She was having some problems. So Grandma and Grandpa sent her to come live with me and my husband, who was technically old enough to be her father, to try to help her. It gave my mom a lot of peace because she didn't have to worry about my sister. She threw it all on me. I realized a teenager's tough to deal with. And 14, 15, for a girl, can sometimes be the worst years of their life. I also, that summer, had my 2 stepdaughters come stay with me and my nephew. So I had 2 6-year-olds, a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old. I'm suddenly like a mother of all these kids. But I was the oldest of 8, so we got season passes to Six Flags. Somehow, my husband was working in the daytime. I worked graveyard. So guess who was entertaining these kids all the time? Me. And my oldest stepdaughter, Ariel, and my sister, they both hated me. Gina, you know you hated me because I cracked the whip. And so they bonded. This mutual hate for Nicole. But I do remember one of the funnest things with one of their punishments was they got to clean out the big trash cans. That was a lot of fun for me to watch them. They literally climbed into the trash cans and scrubbed them clean. You know, the big trash cans. That was a lot of fun for me. Got creative with some of the punishments. That was a lot of fun.
So knowing that that was a very difficult time, those teenage years, what advice would you give Araceli?
Be very careful about who your friends are as a teenager. Know who you are for yourself and don't follow other people. Don't go looking for happiness in other people. Happiness comes from yourself, from your own accomplishments and your own goals. They can be small things, doing well on a test, just keeping your room clean, those things can make you happy. If the fidget spinner makes you happy, the fidget spinner makes you happy. If hugging a teddy bear when you're 46-year-old makes you happy, which I do, don't worry that other people think it's silly that you're 46 years old, because I'm 46 years old, and I go to the hospital. I take those teddy bears with me, and I don't care what those nurses think or those doctors or the other people, because it actually brings me happiness and comfort. And you have to learn how to do things that make you happy, even if the world thinks you're weird or strange or whatever, because trying to follow other people a lot of times, it can lead you to bad places. And sometimes when you go to those bad places, it's hard to pull yourself out. And I think that you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. So don't be a follower. You know, you don't necessarily have to be a leader, but know yourself and what makes you happy, and think about what you want out of your life. You know, do you want to be someone who looks cool, who's smoking, who's doing drugs, who's being sexually active because it's cool, it's accepted or whatever? Or do you want to have, you know, a nice career someday, a nice home, a nice family, a man who loves you for you and not just because you're taking your clothes off to every Tom, Dick, and Harry? Do you want it to be something special? Because I really think that it can be something very special, and it's okay. It's okay if it's just one guy, but it's also okay if you make a mistake and you have to forgive yourself. You know, because we're all going to make mistakes in life. I led a pretty boring life, but I have some regrets. I've made some mistakes, but I tried to grow from them, and then, you know, and learn from them and go on and live the life that I wanted to live. You know, so you know you're going to make mistakes, but be careful. Don't find yourself going down a road and be afraid to exit that road, because people who love you, your brother, will always love you. Your aunts, they're gonna love you. Your cousin Hope and Charlotte, they're always gonna love you. Your father is gonna love you. Sometimes he has a different way of looking at things, but he does love you. They'll try to help you get out of whatever situation you're in. Hopefully you never get into a bad situation. But the main thing is, if you know who you are, be confident in who you are, and don't let other people lead you astray into things that you go, how did I get here? And then be afraid to pull yourself out. If you find yourself in that situation, you know, call someone if you need to. And don't be so worried about, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. You know, think about the long-term effects. It's okay sometimes to get in trouble. You learn and accept your punishment and then go on and be a better person. I want you to be an independent person. I want you to be a good person. That's the main thing, you know, to be good for yourself and to other people. You can be a good person and still be cool, but you may not be cool to the cool kids, because a lot of those cool kids, they don't look so cool when they're in their 30s and 40s. And some of the things that are cool in high school, you go to college, nobody cares about. They really don't. And you know, you want to have nice things in life. You want to have a nice home. I mean, you want to have nice vacations, just like you've had growing up. You don't want to have nothing and be sad because you made bad decisions. Okay, I don't know. My mom didn't spend any money on herself, correct? My mom did not spend money on herself, but she would spend money for us to follow our dreams in sports and stuff. And they also derived a lot of joy out of watching us. And like I said, thank God I was the oldest because I did not have the skills they did. But my mom was impressed. My dad was thrilled when I was on the JV team. Boy, when they got to see them superstars, I don't want to follow that. And I think one of Darren's problems is he really didn't want to follow. He gave up. He didn't even bother to try to follow in Miss Straight A, Miss Prom Queen, Miss Popularity, and Miss Athletic. I mean, she had it all. And then poor Darren's come along. I ain't even bothered to try. I'm already naturally lazy. And there ain't anyone lazier in the world than my brother. But yeah.
Random advice on marriage, kids, family, finances, and relationships.
Can we do one at a time again?
Yes. Random advice for
on marriage.
On marriage.
Well, don't do what I did. And that is get engaged after 1 week. A little early. The only problem about me giving advice on marriage is mine didn't work. I think that marriage is a wonderful thing. I honestly think that marriage is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I believe that their dad and I had a good marriage for a lot of the marriage. It may not have seemed that way because usually when I was crying to Mom, they heard the bad parts. One of the things that I didn't realize in the beginning of my marriage is it's best not to go crying to Mom. And that was something that I think that it's best when you're having a problem not to share it with your mother, because your mom, which of course you can't do to me, but what happened was it created a dislike of my mother towards my husband because she heard the bad things and because she loved me so much. And I always felt very loved by my mother, and I was very close. It created a dislike, and I think that caused some problems, for Glenn to feel accepted, and I think that he interpreted it as more of a racial thing, and it really wasn't. Grandma didn't dislike Daddy because he was blood. She disliked him because he broke my heart. And all marriages, you're going to have fights. You're going to have disagreements because you have two people with different ideas about things, and it's not always going to be perfect. Nobody's marriage is. You might look at someone and think, oh, they have the greatest marriage in the whole world. They've had problems. I guarantee you they've had problems. But marriages that last learn how to work through them. They learn how to work through them. And I think that if you can learn how to work through the rough periods, you're happier in the long run. I really do. I think that marriage is a wonderful thing. It's having someone to share your life with, to witness the same things that you're witnessing over a long period of time. You become a part of that person. It's almost like when I got divorced, I felt like someone cut my arm off. I mean, I was like, how can we get divorced? I don't understand. We're a part of each other. I honestly felt we are a part of each other. And I know it's hard for my kids to understand that because now that I've been divorced for so long, I won't take Daddy back. And it's a hard thing to explain, but once your heart is ripped open, sometimes you can sew it back together. Sometimes you can't. It's dead. And unfortunately, mine died in respect to their father. Now, I've tried to be good to him, And we have a strange relationship, which they think is normal, but as they get older, they'll realize. I hope that most exes don't just give refrigerators to their ex-husband 9 years after they've been divorced. You know, I've tried to help your daddy out sometimes, not because I care about your daddy, it's because I care about my children and to make them happy, to make them more comfortable. And is it the right thing? I don't know. A lot of people say, you know what, you need to cut him off. He needs to grow up. Yes, daddy has health problems. Yes, daddy is poor. But I'm not poor because I worked hard. And as you guys go out to the workforce and you work hard, you'll kind of understand it's hard to work a full-time job. You get tired, and you continue to do that, and I continued to work extra hours because I wanted to buy you guys nice things, because it made me happy. And to see you guys smile, to see all those presents and I go totally overboard, makes me happy. I'm gonna miss that. I miss your smiling faces. And I want to make you happy, and I spoil you guys. Even if you don't feel like I did. I spent more money than I had. I worked more hours than I had to work. And it was hard when I got nervous about my position in the post office as things were becoming more automated and they were eliminating positions at the post office. I got scared. What if I lose my job? Where am I going to work? Am I going to make the money that I'm making now somewhere else? I got scared and I went back to college. And it was hard because Darius, you were little. You know, you were 3 years old and I had to put you into daycare for the first time. Broke my heart to leave you. I mean, it was okay to leave you with your dad. That's your daddy. But to have to put you, somewhere with strangers who might not love you, who I know could not love you the way I loved you, and love you the way your dad loved you, and to hear you cry just killed me. And I only sent you the hours I was actually in class. And then I'd come home on my day off and do homework and do advance. Try to advance as much as I could, reading in the chapters ahead on my day off. And Darius would be at my feet underneath the computer desk playing. And I'm trying to do my schoolwork because you just felt better being near me. And I remember my mother telling me one time that it was a lot like President Kennedy in the White House, and how he would be working in the Oval Office and his kids were young and they would just be playing all around him while he is signing executive orders and doing presidential things. And my mom would say, that's like just what you're doing. You're doing your thing to try to improve your home life, and there's your little one right at your feet. It took time away from my ability to be a mom because I was tired, I had to work. It took, a sacrifice on your dad's part because some of the things that I did on the home, because I was a more traditional wife in the beginning years, although my kids might find that hard to believe. I did do a lot of the cleaning and everything else. Your dad always did the cooking because, let's face it, I can cook. But your daddy would try to teach me so that I could take over. Never really worked. And I felt a little guilty because I felt like I didn't spend enough time with you. But I was trying to get my degree, and I got my degree so that we would be more secure financially, that we could always have a house and that we could pay our bills and everything else. But it still was kind of hard because I felt like these are important years and I can't spend as much time with you. And my time is you playing at my feet. But at the same time, that's what parents do to secure a good future for their kids. In the end, I didn't have to leave the post office. I didn't want to leave the post office. Your daddy always wanted me to leave, but I liked it there. I felt safe there. I had good insurance. I had a good income for Oklahoma, and I liked it. So I didn't want to switch jobs and possibly get fired or laid off or not like the job. Because I worked at Ross. I hated it. I worked as a waitress at Country Folks in Simi Valley with Aunt Danielle. I hated it. So I knew that I was not someone who would work in the public well, because I didn't like to smile at people. And when you're a waitress, you have to walk up to the table and smile and say, "Hi, my name is Nicole. I'll be your waitress today. What would you like?" I don't even know what that is. I don't know what that is. And you're asking me how it's cooked? I don't know, it's cooked however they cook it. I don't know how they cook it. I don't know these questions. Who asked? I never go into the restaurant and ask weird questions like, "Well, do you cook it with such and such?" I don't even know what that is either. And then I would go over to Danielle and say, "Danielle, can you take that table? 'Cause I don't even know what they're talking about." But anyhow, I got off topic again. But
Let's get back on topic.
I forgot what we were talking about.
We were talking about renting advice on marriage, kids, family, finances, and relationships.
I really hope you guys have children someday, if you want them. Now, as you guys know, I wanted to be a mother. I could not have children. Your dad and I used no protection. I wasn't getting pregnant. One thing I wanted when I first got married was to actually have a baby right away. Your dad was 35. He wasn't a spring chicken. So we had to get cracking. And it wasn't happening. And I went to church. I prayed. And I've told you this story many times, Darius. I prayed and I prayed. And I would look at other people who had children, and I'd be so jealous and envious, and that was not good. It was hard for me to see someone at a baby shower because I was hurting inside. I wanted a baby so bad. I went and saw a doctor and took the pills and started at one pill, that didn't work, and 2 pills, that didn't work, and 6 months into it, 3 pills. First time I got pregnant. It was the happiest day of my life at that point. I was going to be a mom. I was going to have a baby. My friend Nina was afraid to tell me she was pregnant because she knew I'd been trying to have a baby. Carrington is 1 year older than you, Darius. She didn't tell me until she was almost 9 months pregnant because she knew I wanted a baby so bad. She was afraid to tell me that she got pregnant by accident. But I want you kids to know that both of you, neither one of you were accidents. I purposely had you because I desperately wanted a child. And then after I had Araceli, those feelings of jealousy, they went away. I could finally be with someone who is pregnant and not look at them and go, "I wish that was me." And I could be happy for them. And that's a nice thing. It's not good to always be jealous and everything. I had children because I wanted them. And you should have children because you want them that bad. If you don't, not everybody does. You can look in our family, some people wanted children, some didn't. You can have a happy life without children or with it. For me personally, I needed to have a child because that's what I wanted. I think it's the most wonderful thing in the world to be a mother and to watch your children grow, to see them take that first step, the first time that they say mama. And even though, Darius, you have a spectrum disorder, I cannot love you more. I will hug you every day of my life, and I want you to feel my arms wrapped around you even after I pass, because I'm hugging you from wherever I am, and I will always, always love you. And I want you to know that, Darius, from the bottom of my heart, I will always love you, and I'm always hugging you. That is so important. And Araceli, I was 16 years old when I picked your name out. That girl, she wasn't even my best friend, but she was pretty. She had beautiful black hair. She was one of the nicest girls in school. She was intelligent. She was part of the student council and all involved and all that stuff. But I thought, wow, she's really smart. She's really involved. I mean, I don't know, maybe they don't really do anything with student council. I have no idea. And you know, she was my Facebook friend, and I wrote in her yearbook when we graduated, someday I'm going to have a little girl, and I am going to name her Araceli, and I hope that she is everything that I see you as. And I told her that later on in life, and she was quite touched, but I named her that. But I thought it was the most beautiful name in the whole world. And, but I was 16. Your dad knew before we ever got married. That's the name of our daughter. There's no changing that. And then I gave you the middle name Crestiliana because it was my father's name, my grandfather's name, my great-great-grandfather's name. My brother is his name, but he had not used it. And I really like the idea of carrying on the family name. And we carry it on as a middle name. And my dad was a wonderful father. He really sets the bar of what a father is. I can't imagine any man being a better father than my father. And you guys loved Grandpa, especially Darius. And you guys weren't there for the funeral. And one of my sisters had said, it's probably one of the reasons why I'll never get married is because no man could ever be as good of a man as my father was. And I can't remember if it was you or Kelly, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. That it was hard for me to date men because my father could do everything. You know, the stars and moon hung in the sky because there wasn't a thing that man wouldn't do for us. The most intelligent man I ever knew. And as I always say, he was a great speaker. And, you know, he was a master gardener. He was a great coach. Now, I will say, Grandpa did go a little crazy at the games. A little enthusiastic. Thankfully, again, I was the oldest child because I probably would have been the kid where he's yelling, why is that kid even on the team? We're losing the game. Why are they letting that kid play? Sometimes they'd say it a little too loud, but the people would hear. Grandpa was wonderful, and I hope someday, Darius, that you can be a good father, and as long as you love your children, that you work to provide for them, you will be a great father. And I hope that for you. And Araceli, if you want to be a mother, love them, give from your heart. And whether you have a lot of money or not, it's really, those are things. I've given you guys a lot of things. But if I didn't have the money and I couldn't give you those things, it's giving time. When we read together, that's special time. And we've done that where we would just read together. Little things like that are more important than that iPad I brought you guys. You know? And remember that those little times that you spend, the fact that you will go to your child's games or their activities or whatever they're interested in, you know, their choir performances, the little plays that you guys were in, they brought me great joy to watch you guys. And I hope that someday if you want to be a parent, that you derive this, doing everything right. But if you don't want to do that, that's totally okay too. Some people just don't have that burning desire to have a child.
The 3 questions I have left is, always keep this in mind. You end it.
Well, I do want to backtrack.
Go back. I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
And remind Araceli of one thing, and that is if you choose to get married and you want to have a traditional wedding, which is not what Lovato's traditionally do. I have a little traditional simple wedding, and you can get married very simply with not that much money. You don't have to go crazy. And your aunts have your Aunt Shannon proved that. I didn't spend, I think, $1,000 on that wedding. But I had a wedding dress from a discount bridal store, off the rack, no any kind of adjustments made to it. Yes, it was velvet. So everybody else got to wear velvet. But it made it different. But I wore my mother's veil, wedding veil. So if you do get married, and Araceli, and you do have a traditional wedding with a wedding gown and the guy in the cup in, say, a chapel or a church, I would appreciate it if you could find a way to wear a mom's wedding veil. I kept it for you, and I think that if you wore it, yes, it looks like an antique white now, because it's old. But remember, Grandma was married for 42 years. I was married for 14. But I think that if you wore it, you would feel my presence with you, knowing that I had worn it. And I wore it because, one, it was gorgeous. But also because I thought it would just be something special, that it was a part of my mom. And I felt that they had a happy marriage. And so I hope that it's something you do. But if you want to just go and, wear a simple dress on the beach with just a minister, just you and your husband, I'll understand you're not wearing the veil. But things, what was the question?
Always keep this in mind.
Always keep this in mind. Well, I just want you to always remember that even though I'm not around, I'm still a part of you. Part of you is from me and part of you is from my Father. And we gave Darius middle name, which is Colin, which is Nicole and Gunn together. And that's where Colin comes from. Because you are a part of both of us. And then Araceli, your middle name is Priscilla, which is Priscilla and Anna together. Your dad's grandma was Priscilla. And it was my grandpa's name, Priscilla. So it's kind of both of us together again. I actually thought of these things when we named you. put a lot of thought into you guys' names. Actually, and we hoped great things for you guys. But just always know that I love you, that I want the best for you guys both. That even though I haven't been able to be around in your life as long as I would have liked to, that I would be happy to have been there at your graduation. And if you went to prom, I would have been thrilled to go pick out the prom dress, just like we did pick out a prom dress for this last cruise. I would have enjoyed shopping. But if you don't go to prom, that's fine, I didn't go to prom. So it's not a big deal. But that I'm always in your heart, so I'm with you. I'm in your heart, and the more you think of me and remember me and see pictures of me, then I'm there with you. And know that I wanted to be, that I tried my hardest. I did what the doctors said, and I did that for you guys. It was hard. You guys know and witnessed me being sick, and Araceli, I hope that you can remember times when I wasn't sick, because I've been sick for a long time. And I am a part of your guys' life. I'm a part of you, Darius, even though you're dark. I'm a part of you. You come from me too. And I'm with you. And I'm hugging you from beyond. Because hugs are important. You know, learn to forgive people. People make mistakes. And learn to accept people. Not everyone's going to be perfect. You're going to have family members that make mistakes. Learn how to forgive them. But be smart. If they do something dangerous, you don't want to be around them too much and endanger yourself. But, you know, learn to try to accept people for who they are. Not everybody is super smart and genius, but that's not everything. I think that what's more important is that you're a good person, that you're honest, that you're kind, that you can forgive people, you know. And so if somebody, you know, is driving down the road, they hit your car, they didn't do it on purpose. Don't go losing your mind. They don't want to get into a car wreck any more than you do. Accidents happen. And understand they may have been having a bad day. If somebody looks at you rude at work, don't always assume it's because they're racist. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Now it could be that they're a racist SOB, but it could be that they've had a bad day and they just acted crazy because they couldn't find the right gun and lost their mind. Because you guys have seen me sometimes just lose my mind and you're like, what is going on? It can sometimes be a culmination of other things and you just hit your limit. But you try to be understanding of people. That's all I can think of right now. You want to stop? Never forget. Never forget. Well, I think it's the last one. Never forget that when your dad and I got married, we intended to stay married, that we intended to have a family, and to raise you. And we actually had the same ideas, to raise you, to take you guys to church every Sunday, and to be good people, you know? I don't really know what else to say on that one, because I think it kind of was a lot like the last question.
And the last question,
No.
please remember.
that my family is your family. My sisters are still your aunts. And I believe they still love you because you're their nephew or even your niece. Aunt Mercedes still gonna love you. Aunt Shannon still gonna love you. It doesn't matter that I'm gone. They're still your family, even after I pass. That it's not just your dad's family that's your family because your dad's alive, but that, you know, family is family. They're still your family. And how much a part of that family you are depends on you. Do you want to have a relationship with them? Then you call them and talk to them. Or you won't have a relationship with them. You know, if you want to have an extended family, you have to put some effort into it. And it's just calling them, be willing to spend time, you know, be willing to take off time from work, to go hiking, say, in Colorado, because Miss Dana's here. I bet she would love to, because I think that when they see you, Darius, when they see you, Araceli, they see their mother, who is their sister, and they are also missing me as well. That you have shared grief, and they're going to be sad, and you're sad, and you guys can heal together. And then get past the sadness, and remember all the good times. Remember the quirky times. You know, it's okay to laugh at the things that your mom did, and even when they're stupid things that mom did, that she did. And it's okay to laugh about that stuff later. And I want you to get to the point where you can think of mom and laugh. And if you think that your mom was a little crazy, your mom was a little crazy. And that's okay to laugh like that. And you should laugh like that. And I want you to have those times. And talk to Aunt Shannon. Aunt Shannon knows things from me as a teenager that I don't even remember. For some reason, she remembers all kinds of crazy things. Ask her about the red jumpsuit. She'll tell you the crazy story about the red jumpsuit. I love that red jumpsuit. Just so you know. I don't care if nobody else liked it. But she'll tell you stories. And it'll be interesting that they can tell you things. And in these last couple of years I've spent with Mercedes, she can tell you things about me that you guys might not remember, and you might find interesting, and share together. And I think you guys will all be happier doing that sometimes. You know, don't wallow in grief and sadness and let it overwhelm you, Darius or Araceli. Because it's not all about sadness. I brought you into this world, you know, God allowed you guys to be a part of my life for the time that I had you. And know that you guys are going to be okay. You have people to lean on. As crazy as your daddy is, you have your daddy. And he does love you, even if it's differently than the way I love you. Because people are different. You know, count on other people, be happy, live your life, and you're not the only ones to lose a parent at a young age. And it's sad that you had me for a period of time. You know, some people lose their parents when they're born. You know, Grandma Lovato, she lost her mother And she was like 2 years old when she had Aunt Victoria, which you guys don't know, or anybody else remember Aunt Victoria? I'm the only one who does. But she did, she lost her mother at such a young age. You guys have me to the point that you guys all have memories. And that's a wonderful thing. And hopefully someday you have your own families. If you don't have a traditional husband-wife, that you have friends, and friends are family too. You can have friends that are like sisters. I say all the time, Lena is like a sister to me. You know, Krista and I are so close. These two ladies at the table with me, they're like sisters, because they've been friends forever. And, you know, your friends can be your family. And sometimes, you know, that can be special. And you can share holidays with them. And that can be your family. They don't have to be a traditional mom and dad. I really just decided, okay, this is the last day. And I got a letter from my doctor saying, you know, I'm unable to perform duties of my job. Well, didn't date it. No date on this day whatsoever. No, I don't do it. I mean, this could be 2000. Really, I'm like, because I called, it was the first letter. I was supposed to have a letter to give Friday. And then I need to fax once a month, mail for you. And I get a letter, no date. Now I gotta call back again. And the third letter, first letter got lost somewhere. Then the second letter, I get it. It's all fine and good, but when am I not able to come and do that? Yeah. Glad that you're on oncologist and you've been treating me and you don't know how you've been treating me. It's just kind of weird. So, yeah. I mean, you didn't even like date the letter. I kind of wanted to also date. She's unable to perform the next part this month. So we left out 2 weeks. So now I gotta go her. But now it's almost the end of the month. It's supposed to be my July letter. And then once a month I'm supposed to get a letter. So I'm still unable to perform my job to maintain my health and my insurance. Because I'm not working. And I'm not calling into work every day saying, hey, I'm not coming to work. But anyhow, I go in my last day. I just realized what I was talking about. Right. I took an oxycodone and an oxycontin, both 20 milligrams, so it was pretty powerful. Definitely legally high. Really high. But she came to me and said, and I've had quite a few people tell me, you make it look good. I'm like, oh no, it's right. Darius is never going to read it. He's not a reader. You know? And then she goes to the video. I was like, oh no. Even Shannon mentioned it. I was like, oh no, is that weird? And then she came to me and she's like, oh, it would be nice. Robin will do it. So she's right when she says Robin, I'm going to talk to Robin.
Robin's batteries will die.
It'd
be great.
I know it's going to be something nice because Robin has a really unique, neat style. Besides just being
You do, Robin, you do. Yeah.
And she's very stylistic and has all kinds of neat. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, and she's like, think of what to say. And then I'm like, not really thought of anything. I've just been thinking about I'm in pain. I'm trying to deal with hospice and set this up. Had a couple of incidences with, I had a panic attack that Araceli had to deal with where I couldn't breathe. She's screaming for Darius to come. I mean, I literally could not breathe. I freaked out because I thought, I'm going to have to go to California and not take this with me. And told me, and I was like, I want to go with all the kids. And when I spent the last part of my life with my kids, and I'm going back and forth with my ex. And then he said at one point, well, you know, let them start school, you go to California, And then all of them come see you at the end. I'm like, really? So what you're saying is at Thanksgiving break, you can come see me, and at Christmas break, because I'm like, if I don't have my kids, I'll be dead before Christmas. I'll die of a broken heart. And if you don't have a positive attitude, you will die early. And then I started thinking, I can't be this sick and let my kids watch this. All the hospice people, the doctors, the social workers, and I've talked to 2 different social workers, the handmaid came in and doctor said, do not do this to your children. Do not let them be the ones who watch you to the end. You don't want that for me. And I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to go without them. And I got all upset. And then I couldn't breathe. And I was hyperventilating and everything. And Araceli was there. And she's screaming for Darius. And Darius has his spectrum disorder. And Darius this. And he comes in and he says, Araceli, I told you not to disturb me because I have to get up at 5 a.m. and then left. He didn't even take into account the situation. But that's the way Darius is. And I understand. He cannot understand all situations. I'm not mad at him. I know this is part of his problem. So my 12-year-old is like, okay, Mom, breathe, sit up, breathe with me. And she just started having me breathe real slow. I finally was able to get a hold of my breath. So I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die right now. I really thought, I'm going to die right now. I cannot breathe. And then she's like, okay, take the anxiety pill. She gives me the anxiety pills. And I got myself calmed down, but I didn't even feel better for hours later. It took hours, but like my whole body hurt from just completely panicking. And then the next day he calls and says, okay, agree to your terms, I'll let them go for the school year. Then they have to come back. And I'm like, thank God. Okay, I've got like 3 weeks to get myself packed up and out of here. Because we've been going back, my school starts, soon. No, I got it, and I didn't feel good that day, and so I, trying to let you know, to give you as much notice, and then trying to tell Shannon to give her as much notice. Okay, we are coming. The exact paperwork we're going to do, we're still working on that because he doesn't want to do legal guardianship. He wants to do power of attorney, child custody, which has different powers, but she can enroll her in school and take her to the doctor. She just can't carry her on her insurance, so Glenn has to forward whatever he's going to have to go get Araceli on Medicaid, Medicare, whatever it is that he has, and send that information to Shannon. And then I did say, and you have to send all the child support. My biggest fear is he has no access to any of my money but Social Security child support. And Social Security child support that he will collect off of me alone is more money than he gets a month. But he thinks he's only going to get like $625 because that's what he pays me. But it's like $1,700. But he's going to collect for me alone. And that's going to make him want to just keep Araceli to help him pay his bills. He can't pay his bills. He can't pay his bills right now. He cannot. He's drowning right now. So he needs me to die because he will collect $26,000, which is half of what was in my 401k. Or as you guys speak English, postal terms, food savings. But I always tell people 401k because you know what that is. Food savings was lending. So I was just saying 401k. But at the time we got divorced, I only had like 52 or whatever in there. So the deal was, here's the deal. He got it when I retired or when I died. Well, I figured he'd be dead by the time I retired. And if that meant I had to work a couple extra years, But I mean, the earliest I could have retired would have still been 10 years out.
Mhm.
And he's sickly and has all these health problems. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised he's still alive right now. Then there's a possibility that I could still outlive him. Yes, I have multiple health problems. But, no, I can't. But fortunately, I have a whole lot more money in the savings now. And that really is not good money. Compared to what they're expecting to get. Because that was a good program. But I thought it turned out really nice. I'm glad. I really wasn't sure how this was what we were gonna do. I thought Robin was gonna have all the questions and I don't know. I thought I'd just sit
We just
on
kind
the
of
fireplace.
were winging it.
No, this looked like you planned. We're going to have a conversation. The table is. Bird, well, you know, she is a manager for a reason. She's got a college degree. She's educated. She knows how to make things look like quality, right?
Well, we have her to thank for a lot of that. Because she really helped me out on some of the things to talk about. So, yeah.
I'm like, this and this and
Yeah. When did this happen?
When you were changing your clothes
When
and
you were
stuff.
changing your clothes.
Oh, I thought you had this all.
I did. I had some
Huh?
stuff there.
Oh,
Say again?
Your camera's already dead, right?
Uh,
She was taking the purple.
oh, it might be able to turn it on to back it up a little bit.
Did you ever take a picture of my
Yes, I did. With my phone. But I do want you to put it back on because I want to take a picture of Andrew and Belinda next to you where you're sitting, if you don't mind.
Oh.
I miss you. If you were here, I know that you would truly be amazed at what's become of what you made. If you were here, you would know how I treasured every day, how every single word you spoke echoes in me like a memory of hope. When you were here, you could not feel the value that I placed on every look that crossed your face. When you were here, I did not know just how I had embraced all that